I want to know, like, why did you've been talking about this, writing this book for several years, for almost 4 years. Why do you feel like you didn't write it back then, and why it came forth at this time in your life and in history right now?
Because of what Greg just said. We had accomplished a lot. We got ourselves out of a really, really dark situation over the last 8 years. Yeah. You can read the book to find out what it was. But after being in such a dark place and finding breakthrough, but for the last 8 years, even having success from what the world might call success, there's still a missing, something that I call the fulfillment factor. And I want to talk about the fulfillment factor at some point tonight, whether we get to it in the next few minutes. Or somebody asked about that, finding that passion. But it was the missing percent. It was the missing percent last year is why I was so restless, because I realized for 8 years, why do I still allow people to control my thought process? Why do I still allow, and why do I care so much what people are going to think about what I post on social media? Why am I second guessing or not posting something, thinking, because we're living in a world that are so obsessed about the likes. Yeah. And literally it's causing this whole self-worth thing, or it's actually very ego-driven, because when you're so concerned about what other people think, you're actually really very selfish, because it's all about you. And when I stepped over a line 2 times in my life. The first line was a few years ago, but for 4 years I've been talking about this book. I was afraid that I would, for a while I felt like maybe I was the only one, Tia, that was having some questions about our faith, about our church, who was raised people told me, don't chase success. Yeah. People told me that money is the root of all evil. I'm like, really? That sounds like that's in the Bible. And I went and read the Bible, and it says, no, the love of money is the root of all evil. I'm like, why are people quoting scripture that's not even accurate, and I'm choosing to believe it? And half of the time it was coming from the pulpit. Yeah. And so I was just like, well, if money is so bad, why do they keep collecting the plate? And why do they give me 4 ways to give on Sunday morning? You can text it, you can email it, you can drop it in the box in the back and the front. I'm like, what is so wrong? And what also happened, Tia, was I started seeing my friends and my family start to throw God out with the church water. And I'm like, it's not the church's fault. Yeah. Stop blaming the church. It was somebody with bad information, or that was passed on to them, that was unaware, that was then giving me this information that wasn't true. So I started to go seek some truth for myself. And I realized after 4 years of fearing what my church friends would think, or my pastor would think, or some of you would think of me, because some of you, I know you do not like the name of my book. I know that for a fact. I'm hearing the giggles. Some of you haven't read my book because you don't like the name. But that's my point. If you read the book, you would understand the name and you would respect it. Because it's not about church, and it's actually not about money. It's about in between. And I realized, Tia, last year when we went to Israel, I had a massive awakening. And I had not gone the final percent. I had lived a great life. We have a great marriage, great home. By the world standards, we've accomplished a lot. But there's a missing component. And it was not going all the way and leaving and talking about the taboo subjects, the stuff that we're not supposed to talk about in public. Right. I'm like, no, I want to talk about them, because the more conversations that I have, like with you, Megan, on Zoom, or Eric and Shimei, my friends here, and we're all going through this thing, the same thing called life. Money, faith, sex, finances, and politics, and family. Like, we're all going through it, but why are we having these conversations in private versus if we're all going through it, why don't we start talking about it in public? And I searched hard, and I couldn't find any people talking about it. And then when I wanted to start talking about it, I'm like, this is going to make a lot of people upset. But I'm like, is it going to make them upset? And literally, I wrote it for the book for my kids, to leave a transcript of what's possible and where their family lineage and their legacy changed. But I also wrote it for the one person that I wish somebody would have handed me this book 10 years ago. And I didn't realize that we're at 32 days The book is, I think, almost at 7,000 copies sold, and including downloads. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and these messages are coming in like, holy crap, Doug, you're wrecking my life. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to no, thank you. I was on FaceTime last night with, at 10 p.m. with my cousin. Like he never wants to talk. Like he never wants to FaceTime. Like not that I pursue him a lot, but I'm just saying like, we're like, hey, and like, he's like, all the last 3 days, can you talk? I'm like, I will make time for you. Absolutely. We got on last night and he's tears coming down his face. And he goes, Doug, you jacked up my life. He goes, I needed my marriage, I needed my faith, and I needed my job to be jacked up. And he goes, I have had the best week and a half since going to Massive Momentum in Salem. And I've had the best week and a half since you left town. I'm like, yeah, that's how you guys are going to be too. Get out of town. And then you're going to be like, okay, he may have had a point. And so I wrote the book for my cousin, for you, for the people that are just trying to get through another week. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer. Thank you. Great question, babe.
I know. You're on fire tonight, babe. So I really want to kind of dive deep here about just this, the zones of health and the zones of let's talk about zone 6, because this is a hard place. I think a lot of people might be in this room tonight because of being in zone 6, and it's the why me. So when we are in zone 6, we still hit the wall of frequent self-pity. We might still be asking ourselves, why does it have to be like this? Why has this always been my struggle? Why is my flesh so weak? In this zone, we even wish we could trade our struggles with weight or whatever our pace of pain is for a different one. It's our place of pain, so let's talk about that. It's our place of pain to give us that place of reign in our life. And I mean, I just think a lot of people get stuck here in this zone. And talk about this. Talk about the why me.
Well, it goes back to taking personal responsibility, making a decision. When you're in the why me stage, or why does life have to always be like this, or why did I get dealt this hand, I think we have to go through that process.
Yeah.
Greg and I were just talking about on the podcast, like the car accident that happened 7 years ago, the divorce that happened 3 years ago or 30 years ago. Some of you are still going around to your friends, drinking wine, eating too much chocolate, and totally bitching about your ex. Like, get over it. Your friends are over it, your family's over it, but you can't let it go. And you're dragging that crap into your next marriage. That's what's going on, Tia. So you go through this self-pity, why me? And I don't care if it's your health, if it's your finances, if, go down the list, insert whatever your place of struggle is. But I had to stop fighting. First of all, you don't want to stop fighting yourself, but I'm like, I'm going to embrace this obstacle of weight.
Yeah.
Yes, I've found a program that helps me and can lose weight quicker than anybody. Yes, I found a program that has helped me get my mind healthy. Thankfully, I have a health coach. But I may never, that might be always my struggle. I don't know, but I think you should do two things in life. You should take your biggest place of pain, and first of all, make it your biggest place of reign and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever you're struggling with right now, and we're going to talk about, I hate the word struggle, but I'm going to use it for a second. First of all, actually, don't use the word struggle anymore after I just used it.
That's our next step in the...
It actually is. We didn't get to it.
Yeah.
It's contend. Replace struggle with contend. Okay? Because when you say I'm struggling with this, you're giving power to the problem. When you say I'm contending for, you're giving power to the solution.
Yeah.
There's a book in here I signed tonight. You came up and you told me that you've been struggling this past year. There's someone in here that told me this last year has been hell. And I'm with you. I believe it has. But you know what? It's now time to stop struggling with last year and contending for this year.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I put hashtag, whoever has that book, it's hashtag contend. Because I was listening to you. I see you. I listen to you. And Tia, we have to accept, as people, we have to accept personal responsibility. And back to what I was saying. You got to get paid for what you're struggling with that you're now contending with. Okay, I realize that, okay, if I'm going to always, if health is going to be my biggest challenge, I'm going to find a way to get healthy and to turn around and help other people with my same struggle. To Greg's point, there's a snowplow. I'm being a snowplow front, and back. I'm going to bring people with me and at least plow the way. But Doug, you're not perfect. You're right, I'm not perfect. But I'm on the journey. Who wants to get on the journey? You know, you don't care. You stop. Oh, but so-and-so said, yeah, pound sand so-and-so. You know what? Are they paying your bills? Are they going to pay your mortgage this month? I don't think they are.
No,
So
not.
your opinion is not wanted any longer, and that's what happened to you. You stop accepting other people's opinions. So I think you should get paid for your struggle that you're now you're winning in, because you can help other people through the same process you're going to. It's a great way to get paid. It's probably going to be part of your passion and your unique ability.
Yep.
Number 2 is, I do believe if it's not your struggle, but you love doing it and you're good at it, I believe you should also get paid for it. And you should get paid a lot of money. Nobody should set your abundance standards for you and say, wow, if I could just get my job up to 100,000 or 200,000 a year, 300,000 a year, and we're like, yeah, we've made it. You haven't made nothing, because someone told you that 6 figures or 7 figures is a lot of money. I think when you make a decision like, no, I'm going to change, I'm not going to work off my dad's abundance standards. I'm not going to work off of my health coaching business that says, oh, if I have 6,000 in frontline volume, I've made it for the month. No. Doug and Tia, we chose to change our own abundance standards, and we stopped living in that self-pity, and we accepted personal responsibility.
So talk about this whole millionaire mindset and kind of coining that phrase, but when did that start in your own life? I mean, you weren't calling it, I don't think, the millionaire mindset before, but what do you mean by the millionaire mindset?
Well, the millionaire mindset is living a life of excellence, and stop being for me, it was my cynicism.
Yeah.
Like everything is has a little bit of a backhanded slap to it. Like there's somebody just gave me, somebody just told me of a new Instagram handle to follow. And I looked at it and I'm like, dude, this person has issues with these people who wear nice clothes. Okay, so, oh yeah, it's funny. It is funny. But I'm like, that's below the line, because you're operating a little bit out of cynicism and sarcasm. Some people's health is below the line because you're you make the fat jokes just like I used to before someone else would, so you beat them to the punchline.
Yeah.
Like some of your handles are at Big Guy Wood. That'd be a cool handle, actually. Big Guy Wood. Or Big Wood. I should go with that. That's what the book should have been called, Big Wood. Big Wood becomes Small Wood. Because I lost 65 pounds. Don't get weird in here, y'all. It's getting late on a Friday night. I purposely told them, do not open the bar tonight. This bunch will get crazy.
Yeah. I'm glad you did
so
that.
it really, Tia, the millionaire mindset is about creating lots of laughs and having a good time with life.
Yeah.
But also while acknowledging the real stuff that's going on. It's personal responsibility, and it's doing things with excellence and not allowing the world to set their standards for you. And the standards are as simple as your abundance standards, how much you tithe, if you tithe, how much, what percentage of what's it called, when you're going out to eat, you give a tip.
Oh, the tip.
Why? Some of you have decided that they better freaking be amazing if they're going to get 20%. You have an issue with money. Okay, you're such a freaking tightwad. Okay, just release. It's not your money anyway. Okay, unless you figured out a way to take it with you to heaven, I don't know how you're going to do that. But you might as well let it go and bless somebody else once in a while.
That's right.
And when Tia, you and I literally let our hands go. There's a story in there about 1,200 to 12,000 when we released our money to, and we didn't sit there and go, yeah, but they're going to probably use it for. Yeah, they're going to use it for whatever they want. And if they want to abuse it, it was like a strong beast that was broken off of our family when we stopped being just absolute penny pinchers about everything.
Yeah.
And we just became more abundant. Here's an abundance fact check for you. How many of you leave a tip, and do not raise your hand, for the waiter or for the maid who cleans your hotel room? Okay? I'll never see them again. Well, they're in there cleaning your dirty towels and sheets after you just did who knows whatever in there last night. And somebody is coming through cleaning that. Do you at least leave them $3 to $4 after you just paid $100 for that thing? Even 3%.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never meet them again. That's the problem. It's not about meeting them again. Every single night we stay in a hotel room, no matter where we're at, we leave $3 to $5 to $10, sometimes $20. On the table. If we're going to be there all week, we leave them about $5 a time. The very last night, we leave them more than $5. Why? Because we're not going to see them again, and we want to make a deposit into their life. And we didn't used to do that. We didn't
No,
do that
somebody
even when we
else
had money.
showed us, and so we're speaking this into you because somebody else showed us that they set the standard, and they said, this is what you do. And we're like, oh, you do that? And they're like, yes. So now all of you are now, oh, like this is what we do. So it's powerful because you know what that can do into that person's life. That's the joy, the hope, like they're just feeling like they're going through the motions of their life, and all of a sudden like they come in and $5 is on the bed. We didn't do that before, you guys.
Yeah.
I want you to know we are giving you the things that we've stepped into because somebody pioneered ahead of us and said, this is what we do.
But also, because we weren't aware of that. So some of you were like,
aware.
holy cow, I never knew you were supposed to do that. Well, now you know it's encouraged. But I remember years ago, we went out to eat with a couple, and whether we had money or not, we always tipped 20+%.
Yeah.
If they did a horrible job, they maybe got 15%. That's
Yeah.
just, again, you raise your standards, and it's like horrible is 15 to 20, average is 20 to 25,
Yeah.
and amazing is 35 to 40. It just is what it is. So we were out to eat with these people. I'll never forget, in Hillsboro, was that spaghetti factory. Remember that? And those people, we sat down. First of all, they ordered all these meals for their kids. And they're like, yeah, check this out. And I'm like, okay, check what out? They ordered these, and their kids would eat about half of it because they knew the kids didn't eat the whole meal. And the waiter would come about time for the bill. And they'd be like, hey, can you take this off? They didn't really like any of their food. T and I literally wanted to crawl under a thing. But
This is real, though.
I went over to the waiter, and I'm like, I will pay for the food.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we do that. That happens all the time. It's no big deal. I'm like, I'm paying for the food. I'm not sitting at a table.
Did you hear that? It happens all the time. That's what's like, okay, come on, guys, let's
You know what
come
happens
up.
all the time, too, is when you go into Taco Bell, people order a water cup, and then they fill it with Sprite. I'm like, you're freaking fraudulent. You're stealing. It's just like, it's
reality.
disgusting. Like, how can people sleep at night? No, you think I'm being funny. Like, when you wake up and you realize that's going the final percent
Yep.
of, you have a no-play zone. Because
Yep.
it was interesting when people started realizing this about us. Like, we start walking away from conversations. I was at a football game a couple years ago with a group of buddies. The conversation went extremely inappropriate, and they were all married. I was happily married. Okay? I would not feel comfortable with Tia in that conversation. I literally left the football game in the third quarter and came
Because
home.
yeah.
And I never told Tia then why I came home. I raised my abundant standards where I do not participate in conversations that are below the line or below the belt when it has to do with somebody else's
Come on.
spouse. Okay?
You're on fire.
No, it's just freaking truth.
Well, now I'm like, okay, I do want to go here because when you make the decision, he talks about be prepared. Anytime you start to grow, move, or disrupt the status quo, there will be major pushback from certain people closest to you. At that point, you have to hold firm to your decision to grow. And I love what you say here. It says, be careful. We had people that came into our life, and I mean, you kind of went here already, but this was like a game changer, I think, for you because you were dealing with so much depression at that time, a lot of anxiety. And so you said, okay, would you rather me keep chasing debt and depression? Because that wasn't working out real well for me. I think that's the reality is like people have been told, like, slow down, like, just be okay.
Yeah. I'm going to really make some of your friends mad tonight because if you're serious about making a decision to grow and live your best life and to go the final percent like Greg talks, it's going to cost you some friendships.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. And guys, don't get me wrong. You are not above these people. You're just choosing to live life different.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to get on your frequency, like I'm operating with an iPhone, I don't know what this number is. I think it's an 8 Plus.
I don't know. It's new. It's newer
It's
than
newer,
old.
yeah, because I don't like to change my iPhones. But some of y'all are operating with people who literally still have flipper phones. That's the way they live their life. Or you're using an iPhone, but you're treating it like a flipper phone because that's the type of frequency you're on. T and I will only communicate with people that gets on our frequency. And it's a frequency of abundance. We are not better than anybody. We have just chosen, we had our kids in the best school in Scottsdale. Best school money can buy. And we were sickened to our stomach sickened to put our kids through that. And we said, this school is not on our frequency. I'm spending more time sending my kids to this school, and I'm bringing them home, and I'm unprogramming Amaya and Kate to actually the way the world works by somebody who's in the world that didn't study for it 30 years ago, that's putting their jacked up beliefs on my children. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so, I don't even know what the question was, but
it's good. You're disrupting
you have
the
to,
status quo.
okay, so
you're disrupting the status quo.
So what I'm saying is, we got emails from the school. You know what the emails were? We're going to miss you, Woods. You guys travel a lot. That's why they don't like us either. and we got one email, and the person still to this day will remain anonymous until they're ready to be public. One of the best teachers at that school anonymously emails us and said, please do not tell anybody this. I respect you so much. You're right. I've been a part of this for so long, blah, 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 blah. And literally put her whole school on blast. She goes, I've got 3 more years, and I'm just letting you know all the teachers feel this way. And it's not the school, it's the system. Okay, it's going on a lot of schools. So parents, make sure that your kids are in a winning system.
Yep.
Okay, get them into and if they're not, don't move to a town for the nice houses. Better check the school system or get them into a system that is not programming them for a world that does not exist. The world is going on today, and that's why I love seeing the kids here tonight, Tia. So understand, getting into massive momentum and living on purpose, people will not agree with you. I just did a podcast in Boise, the one that's, I think it's the current one on there. I think, I don't know what it's called. But go listen to it. I share a story about someone very close to me, and I named the person. It was literally the pastor's wife of my church I used to go to. Literally came into Starbucks one day and told me to stop posting what I was posting on Facebook. I'm like, does Zuckerberg pay you? I'm like, I was shocked. She's like, oh my gosh, Doug, your post, they're making other people feel bad. Oh, so it's about other people now. She asked me to not post on my Facebook. There's a big story to it. You can go listen to it if you want, but the bottom line is people, when you start disrupting your life for greatness, you will disrupt good people that have just chosen to stay average.
So, you talk about you're an average guy from average town, but you always had an above average desire for more, and I think there's a lot of people in the room, and that's why you wrote this book. Mm-hmm. You wrote it for yourself. Like if you were speaking to your 30-year-old self, what do you want to see this book do in the lives and the hearts of the people, not just in this room, but to go forth from here?
Well, I wrote the book so, and if you've only listened to the audio, you got to get the print. The print's my favorite, and it's an experience because I wrote it so it could sit on a mantle, a nightstand, a coffee table, and it could be like a resource guide. Because I get it, I do not have time to read.
Yeah.
That's why audio is so important. But there are times I use some books, like the 5 Levels of Leadership, like a resource guide, or kind of like the Bible sometimes. You can flip to different ports and read a section and marinate on it. This book is written to where you open up that page to any page you're on. You can start right there, and you are not behind from the chapter before. I also put emojis in it. I'm like, I'm going to talk like I do right now and how I do on Facebook. And with you, Tia, I'm going to talk about that in the book. And that's why they tried to get me to change my lingo, and they tried to polish me up. Seriously, the editors were like, remember the one editor sent an email to my writer, Jordan. It was like, Jordan, this is never going to work. And Jordan's like, I know, I've tried to tell him. He's kind of an interesting guy. And he's just roll with it. He's paying for it. So he's just like, he doesn't care if it sells 1 book or 1,000 or 10,000. He just wants to do it.
Yep.
And I said, Jordan, don't change a thing. You call him back. You tell him, don't mess with it. You can change my spelling, my punctuation. God knows that needs help. Fix all that stuff for me, but don't change a thing. I kid you not. The editor who like is a professional editing service, a major company, messages me back. Jordan forwards on the whatever it's called, the manuscript.
Yeah.
Forwards me on the manuscript, and they're like on chapter 18, and literally it was a OMG, this crazy guy is onto something.
Yeah.
I've never read anything like this, and he is answering the questions of the people.
Yeah.
And it was just short and sweet. I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically what it was. And Tia, it's talking about the stuff that we're all going through. So no, it's not about faith. No, it's not about money. If it's important to you, you will apply it. And I want to see this book go into every person who is having a hard time and like going through the motions or status quo, like but they're like, man, there's got to be more. I'm not settling. I may be stuck. I may be drunk. I may be bankrupt. I may be in a horrible marriage. I may be depressed. I may have, had some crap happen to me in my life. But like, I'm just waiting for, it's like, not Billy Madison, Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. Like, I'm looking for the people that are like, you're saying there's a chance. This book is for the people that is like, you're saying there's a chance. Here's your chance.